Hi, and welcome back. We are taking a look today at Topic 6, Block 5 in multiplying and dividing integers, and taking a look at how integers can affect your end result or your product when you're dealing with negative numbers, and what some of those look like. So let's get started right away. First of all, we're going to complete this table to show whether each exponential expression simplifies to a positive or a negative number. So what I want you to keep in mind is that as we're working through these, what does each of these things mean? And so first off, let's look at negative 2 to the second power. Now, negative 2 to the second power, I'm going to write it over here. Negative 2 to the second power means that we are multiplying negative 2 times negative 2. And our rules for multiplying exponents says that if we have an even number of negative signs, that our result will be positive. So negative 2 times negative 2 will be positive, and that's positive 4. So the sign of the result will be positive. Okay, now if we look at the next one, negative 2 to the third power, that means we're looking at negative 2 to the third power, and that means we are doing negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. Now that is 3 negative signs in the multiplication. So that means our answer is going to be negative. And now we just have to multiply 2 times 2 times 2. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8. So that'll be negative 8. Okay, and all we have to write down is what that result will be. All right. Our next one is negative 2 to the fourth power. And so negative 2 to the fourth power means we are multiplying negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. Now, if you aren't writing all of this down, please make sure that you do in your math notebook. Now, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 negative symbols. That means my answer is going to be positive because that is an even number of negatives. An even number of negatives in a multiplication or division means positive result. So our answer will be positive. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16. Positive 16. Make sure that you are copying down this table right here and do it neatly so that you can actually read it later. It's kind of important. Scratch that. It's very important. All right, our next one is negative 2 to the fifth power. Negative 2 to the fifth power. So that's negative 2 inside the parentheses to the fifth power. Negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. We have an odd number of negative signs, so that means our answer will be negative. And what is that? 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16, times 2 is 32. Negative 32. Negative. Okay. Now, one last time here, we can work through negative 2 to the sixth power. Negative 2 to the sixth power is, of course, negative 2 times 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 negative 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There we go. And as you can see, 6 negatives. That's an even number of negatives, so the answer will be positive. And that will give us a positive 64. Okay? If all you want to know is the sign of the result when you're dealing with these exponents, all you have to do is count the number of times that number is being multiplied by itself. In the second question, we're supposed to simplify each exponential expression and enter your result in the blank. As you complete the table, be sure to look for patterns. Okay. Well, as you can see from this first one, we have negative, well, it looks like negative 4 to the second power, but that isn't, Please notice that there is no parentheses around the -4. And so what this one is actually telling us, this one is saying that this is the opposite of 4 to the second power. That minus sign, if it's not in the parentheses, saying that is the opposite of 4 to the second power. So 4 to the second power is 4 times 4, which is 16, but the opposite of 16 is -16. Okay? Now, the next one, you can see that the -4 is inside the parentheses. So that means that we are looking at -4 multiplied by -4. And a negative times a negative is equal to a positive, so that's going to give us a positive 16. Okay? Now, the third one down, you can see there are no parentheses. And so when there are no parentheses, that means that we are looking at the opposite of 2 to the 4th power. So that's the opposite of 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16. The opposite of 16 is -16. So there you can see, without those parentheses, it's kind of a big deal. Now the next one, you can see again, the parentheses are there. So that means we are going to multiply that -2 times itself 4 times. That's -2 to the 4th power. It's an even number of negatives. And yes, that is 16. Okay. Let's look at the next line. It is, you can see the parentheses are there. So very important that the parentheses are there, because that is telling us that this is -5 to the second power. -5 multiplied by -5. 2 negatives means we are going to have a positive product, and 5 times 5 is 25. Positive 25. And the next one, you can see there is no parentheses. When there's no parentheses, that means the opposite of 5 to the second power. So that's the opposite of 5 times 5. 5 times 5 is 25. The opposite of that is -25. So you can see it makes a very, very big difference whether the parentheses are there or not. So that's enough to answer question number 3. What sign is the result of a negative integer raised to an even power? So a negative integer, like say -3, raised to an even power like 2. Or -3 to the 4th power, or -3 to the 6th power. Look at those exponents. Notice that that number is in parentheses. If we have an even number of powers, the exponent, the power is the exponent. Power is the exponent. If we have an even number of powers and it's a negative number, every one of those is going to be positive because you have an even number of negative signs. Now, if we have that same negative integer in the next one, but we raise it to an odd power, so that's -3 to the 1st, or -3 to the 3rd, or -3 to the 5th, and so on. Every one of those, you're basically multiplying that negative number an odd number of times. So you're going to have an odd number of negative signs. That means you're going to have a negative product. So, in the table that we looked at before, it asked, what difference do parentheses make? What difference do parentheses make? It's important that we understand the difference that the parentheses make, because if the parentheses are there, the number inside is a negative number. And when you raise that number to a certain number of powers, it'll make a difference whether it's going to be positive or negative. However, if no parentheses are there, then you are looking at the opposite of the number. And we demonstrated that in the table in number 2, where when the parentheses weren't there, we were looking at the opposite of 4 to the second power, or the opposite of 2 to the fourth power, or the opposite of 5 to the second power. That's going to be negative no matter what, when you're looking at it that way. So the parentheses make a very, very big difference. So make sure that you are paying attention to if the parentheses are there or not, because it makes a big difference. All right, that's all I've got for you. Have a great rest of your day. Don't forget to be awesome. I'll see you next time.